Everyone wants to know what to do with stale inventory. Well, today I'm going to share with you that I have 11 different strategies to help you with your stale inventory and get it to sell. But before I do that, I just want to give a quick moment to say that I do think in order for you to be successful with getting rid of stale inventory, you need to have a little bit of a shift in your mindset. So we're going to cover that first to get you going in the right direction. And then I'm going to share with you all my 11 tips, 11 strategies to get those items out of your Poshmark closet and sold. First, I want to thank Vendu for sponsoring today's video. I am super excited to have them as a sponsor because since we're talking about stale inventory and clearing out these items, it only really makes sense to tell you how I work on it. And so I use the super handy feature that Vendu has, which is the stale listing warning. This is so awesome. So I have mine automatically set to 30 days. So I just do it in the settings one time. And then every time a listing is still there after 30 days, a little reminder is going to pop up on the listing. It's like a little yellow thing in the corner. And it tells you that that item is stale. And then you can go ahead and start doing all the things we're going to talk about today in this video to get that item to sell. It does it for you. It's awesome. So I've been using Vendu for a while now, several years, to cross-post, to manage my drafts, to manage my inventory, to delist and relist, to track my inventory and analytics, and tons more things. And if you want to get started with Vendu, all you have to do is use the link down in the description below. It's going to get you 30% off your first month, which is awesome. So go ahead and check out that link below. Let's go ahead and quickly define what stale items are, because I think that this is going to be something that may kind of hit some of you and it might change your thinking a little bit. So I know that you are out there. Let's call you Pamela. Pamela listed a sweater in July and it's the end of July now and she's like, this sweater hasn't sold yet. It is a stale listing. I've been reducing the price like crazy. I've been relisting it. Like, what is wrong here? I don't know why it's not selling. I must be doing something wrong. Poshmark's algorithm, all the things, right? She's freaking out. But it's only been 3 weeks. Your listing is not stale after 3 weeks, and it's a sweater in July. So that's going to be a little bit different than if it was shorts. So I think that we all have a little bit of Pamela in us. And so Pamela is freaking out about this one item that didn't sell because blah, blah, blah. And she's doing all of these haphazard things to get it to sell. And she's spinning her wheels and wasting a lot of energy on this item. And what I have to say is that 1, it's not stale. 2, it's a sweater off season. So you have to kind of give it a little bit of grace there. We'll talk about that later. 3, you should be working on other things in your business that you can control. You cannot be worried about this one random sweater that hasn't sold in 3 weeks in July. You need to be focused on listing more and better items and filling your store with more things that people can buy. You need to be doing sales generating activities that work for your closet overall. On my channel here, I have tons of these kinds of strategies, offer to likers and my shoppers and this and that and the other thing. There's lots of things that you can do to influence sales, to be proactive, and to get these items to sell. But you cannot will an item to sell. I don't care how hard you try, Pamela, you cannot get that sweater to sell necessarily in July. I mean, it could. I sell sweaters in July all the time, actually. But the point is that this particular sweater isn't selling for you. And there could be a number of reasons why. Could be your photos, could be your keywords, could be nobody needs that sweater in July, could be the brand, and it could be that the right buyer just hasn't found it yet. And so there's other things you should be doing to make the best use of your time, to get more items to sell overall, and not just get hung up on this one sweater. Also, just my 2 cents on stale items and how long I think it is till an item is stale. For me, in my business, in my closet, I think 1 to 2 years is where you really would consider an item to be stale and where it should be removed from your closet, perhaps. Now, when we go through all these 11 stale items clearance strategies, there's lots of things that you should be doing proactively before it gets stale. So I say stale is kind of like the last resort before you pull it out and do something with it. But before that happens, let's say after the 30 days from my stale listing warning from Vendu, you're gonna be notified like this thing's been listed for 30 days. Now let's start taking some actions. And those are the things we're gonna talk about today. So there's sales generating activities that you should be doing all the time. And my channel has lots of those videos. But then there's things that you can specifically do to help those stale items go, whether it's 30 days and it's on its way potentially to being stale, or it's already stale and now you're going to take it out of your closet. So I've got a lot of tips for you, so be sure to listen to them all because one or more of these are going to be super helpful for you, I promise. The only other thing I wanted to mention before we dive into all 11 is that when you're shifting your thinking about when an item is stale, also think about the tactics that you're using to get that item to sell. Think about a retail store. They bring in new items, they put them in front of the store, they're probably at full price, then they do a promotion, then they might have a coupon, then they might run some kind of sale, then they might go put them on the clearance rack, then they're going to do something else. Then they're going to actually take them out of the store and liquidate them in some way and get some money for them out of the store. There's lots of things that this store, this retail store, is doing to move the items through their sales process and eventually get it off their books. And so I think if we kind of take that approach, not in every situation, because I'm sure some of those vintage sellers are out there that are going to say, listen, I'm going to sit on an item till the right buyer comes along because it's a $300 vintage, blah, 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 whatever. I don't sell vintage. I don't know about those things. But I can see where there are certain scenarios where you don't need to move an item through this process. But your Chico's tank top, as you guys know I like to talk about, your Chico's tank top can be moved through this process. Even my Zara midi dresses can be moved through this process. Your Bowden, whatever, your Torrid, whatever, your Athleta, all the things that I like to sell. The Spanx faux leather leggings, like all the things that I like to sell can be moved through your process so that you get them at every step along the way closer to making a sale and moving through your books and getting them off your books, basically. So when you do this, you're going to be increasing your sell-through rate because remember, we're in the selling business, not the storage business. I don't have really a limit to my storage. I have a storage unit. I can store as many items in there up to the max. I think I figured it out one time. It was like 3,000 items. And I could always get a second unit or whatever. So I'm not worried about storage. I could store as many items as I want. But that doesn't mean I want to be storing these items. I'm not going to be storing them indefinitely. My goal is to get them to sell. So I'm always striving and keeping a 50% sell-through rate. That's what I try to do. So if I list 10 items today, I'm probably going to sell 5. Not of those exact 10, but it works out in the wash, you know, older ones, newer ones, whatever. So I try to be selling about half of what I'm listing. That means I'm going to be growing, but then eventually I'm going to go through and do a lot of these clearance strategies, and that's going to move them through, and then I sell a bunch off. So you can set up whatever system you want, but I think changing your mindset about what a stale item is, and then how you move those stale items through your business is important, and you should give that a little bit of time and look into that. Now let's get into the actual 12 items that I have, or 12 options to get these items to sell. The first clearance method, I'm going to review my notes, so I might be looking down. The first clearance method for stale inventory is actually several different sales generating activities that are all lumped together, because I think this is called, and what I'm calling it is clearance on the platform. So I think you should be putting several sales generating tactics to help your items move before they become stale on the platform. So if I'm on Poshmark, I want to make sure that I'm doing a progressive offer to likers strategy. I want to be using the My Shoppers feature. I may participate in closet clear out. I might be dropping prices. I might be doing lots of different other things within the platform, which we'll talk about, to get these items to sell. So if you're not doing all of those things within the platform that you're on to get them to sell, that's your first place to start. Because you can't say, Pamela, that your sweater is stale after 3 weeks in July if you didn't send out offer to likers, if you didn't do a My Shoppers, if you never dropped the price, you know, if you didn't relist, all of that. I mean, you were doing those things in my scenario up front, but if you weren't, that's your first place to start. So let's make sure that we're doing clearance on the platform first. So what I'm going to do, because I have several videos that cover a lot of these strategies, I'm just going to link them up at the top one after another. There's several of them that you can go ahead and check out for more information on each of those strategies. Now, the next one is to offer a variety of sales on Poshmark. Poshmark shoppers really as a whole want to get a good deal. We know we get those lowball offers. We know that people take advantage of the sales that we run. And so I think that having some kind of sale or deal or everyday promotion is really great to get certain items to move. So some of the examples are BOGO, which is buy one, get one, whether it's free or half off, although I think free is better. 5 for 50, 5 for 25, name your price, which I have a video about. There's lots of different sales that you can run. Everything with the cactus is 5 for 25, 3 for 20, 4 for 20, whatever works for you. Get creative and set up a little system for yourself that's progressive. So if you've done all your offer to likers and all of those things up front, your my shoppers, your relisting, your price dropping, all those basics, now you want to get into sales. You might want to do BOGO, then 5 for 50, then name your price, then 5 for 25, because that would be progressive. So at each time you switch over to the next one, you might be making a little less money, but it's a way to get them moved through in a systematic way. Because for me, I want to get as much money for my item as I can. So if it didn't sell full price, then I'm going to do 20%, then I'm going to do 30%, then I'm going to do 50%, or whatever it is. And so I constantly move down the line. You know, I don't do more than 50, but I constantly move down the line until I can get that item to sell. And if it doesn't, then I go back to the beginning and I do it all over again. And so having this systematic, progressive strategy for your basic strategies like offer to likers, but then also for these types of sales that you run that are fun and different and get people excited, those are really great things that you can do to kind of move people along and move items along. The next option to appeal to a different type of market is if you're selling on Poshmark and then you're also selling on eBay or Mercari, is you might want to do some things on other platforms. Now, I don't think that you should just list items on another platform to get them to sell that you're trying to clearance out. Like if I only sold on Poshmark, I would also want to be selling on Mercari just to get more eyes on my items and get more to sell regularly, not just for clearance. Or I might want to add eBay in, and that's why obviously Vendoo is a great option because you can draft and cross-post and list on all those places and tons more. But I think being multi-platform is a really good thing, and I think that that helps your items sell overall. Like I think adding a new platform increases your sell-through without doing all of the clearance strategies. Just having this item A on 3 places gives it more chance to sell than if it was just on one marketplace. But when we're talking about clearance strategies, I think that going ahead and adding in other platforms and then taking advantage of those platforms' clearance strategies could be really good. So something like an eBay 99-cent auction is really what comes to mind. I can't say that there's anything specifically to Mercari that rings a bell to me of like how to clearance out your items other than just doing, you know, price drops over there and get to the smart floor pricing. But for eBay, you know, there's those 99-cent auctions that, you know, you hope the item might get bid up, but you could totally get rid of something. It would help your store overall to have the activity. And so there's lots of things that you can do there. But do I think you should purposely buy stuff and then purposely go on eBay specifically to do a 99-cent auction? No, I think you should be expanding your platforms to just boost your sell-through overall and then make use of those platforms' clearance strategies in addition to Poshmark. Now, the next phase of item clearancing out stale inventory item strategies is kind of a leap because now we're going to start taking items offline. So I have some ideas, and these are all things that I've done in the past or that I do, you know, from time to time to get them kind of out of the online space. So, and these I wouldn't do until it's been a year or two, really, because you want to give an item a couple of seasons, you want to give it a chance to find the right buyer. And so all the things I've already covered are things that you want to do in Poshmark, on Mercari, on eBay, within the realm that they're already at, because you already did that work and you really want to try to get them to sell that way. That was their intended purpose. But if they don't sell, if I have the Zara dress that just didn't sell, then I have these other things that I can do to get rid of those stale items and still sell them. When I take items offline, in Vendoo, I just delist it so that it's not listed anywhere, but I still have the information. It goes back to your drafts in Vendoo, and I keep it there, and you can add a label that says offline or something in case you do some of these strategies and the item doesn't sell that way. You could easily put it back on to Poshmark and the other platforms you're on with Vendoo because you didn't get rid of your work. So that's the other reason I really like Vendoo for executing a strategy like this, because you can go ahead and use Vendoo as like your placeholder, your archive of items to keep it. Go try to sell it offline, but if it doesn't, you could always go put it back online because you saved it as a draft in Vendoo. So the next thing that I would do in an offline situation after I delisted, let's say 10 or 20 items that I wanted to move, I would delist them from Vendoo, save those drafts, and I would start working on things that are local. So having a local pop-up boutique, which is basically a garage sale, but you call it a local pop-up boutique, it sounds even better. And you can have a $10 rack, you could have a $50 rack, you could work with a local business and do it there, you could go to a farmer's market, you could have it outside of your house. But I've done different things like this, and it is a lot of fun. It gets you in front of people in real life. And sometimes you can get people that want to help your business by buying. And sometimes they even have stuff to sell you, which is nice too. So it's a great way to meet new customers and just get a different market, a different set of eyeballs onto your items. And I think when you do it in a boutique, like a pop-up boutique, sort of a theme, you get more money for your items this way, because it's not a garage sale. You're not just like offloading these items for $1. You're trying to get $10, $50, or whatever your item would command. So having a local pop-up boutique, advertise locally, put signs around your neighborhood, Facebook groups in your neighborhood, all that kind of stuff. I love doing that. The next thing you can do, which you'd probably get a little bit less money for, but this would be my next step down my progressive list, would be to go to a buy-sell trade store like a Plato's Closet, Style Encore, Clothes Mentor, Buffalo Exchange, whatever you have. For me, I have Style Encore in my area, and I have made thousands of dollars selling items to them. And oftentimes, I can sell them for a little bit of a profit there, or like I'm breaking even there. Most of the time, on the items that I buy in bulk, I'm not losing money. Now, if you paid up for an item and you take it to a Style Encore, then it might be possible that you would lose money. So you have to pick and choose which ones you take there. But I usually go to my Style Encore with like 4 bins worth of stuff, and I walk away with several $100s, and it's awesome. And I love doing that because I can get rid of a bunch of things all at once. The next option obviously would be to consign items to a local consignment store. We do have some in our area. I have done that in the past. For my particular business purview and the ones that I have to work with here, it's not my most favorite thing to do, but other people have really great consignment options in their area, and it would really be good for you to do. So that's something that you can check out as like a local mom and pop consignment store, or maybe it's run by a church or something, and you can go ahead and get some money for your items as they sell instead of upfront payout. Like when I go to Style Encore, they pay me cash up front on the spot. Another thing you can do, which I have done, is lot items up by size or by some kind of theme maybe, and then sell them as lots on Facebook. So I don't know if it's other resellers that buy them or it's someone that's just looking to kind of like, infuse their wardrobe real quick with some secondhand items. But I've made lots of size medium leggings and someone bought them. I've made lots of size small tops and someone bought them all. And so you could do like 5 of them, and then you can charge like $10, $20, whatever per item cost you're trying to do and whatever makes sense where somebody would actually buy it. That has worked for me, and I don't think that that's a lot of work to do, so that's another good option. I would prefer to take things to Style Encore than do this because it is a little extra work than that. But again, in moving through from least amount of work and most money made, going down, down, down to most amount of work and least money made, but you still get rid of your items, I think it's under style encore, but ahead of some other things. So the other thing that you can do is once you've gotten the items offline and you've tried to sell them offline, then you could try to go back online, but not in your original place. So you could send items to ThredUp. You could send items to The RealReal if it's a designer item. You can sell items to swap.com. So there are other online marketplaces that do the work for you that you could sell to. Do I think that those are the best bet for commonplace stale items? No, because I think that if you sold it yourself, you'd make more money. If you did a pop-up boutique, you might make more money. If you sold it to Style Encore, you might make more money. And so this one, depending on the item, you might make more money, but you might not. And because it's out of your control, it's another marketplace pricing it and all of that. So you kind of have to think about that. But sometimes when you're just ready to get rid of items and you're willing to like donate them, at least if you did this, send it to ThredUp, send it to The RealReal, send it to Swap, you're going to get something for it. And that's better than nothing for it. So that's why I bring that up kind of here in the hierarchy. Finally, the lowest option that I have, and I have done this before, and it really wasn't too bad for me when I did it, but it wouldn't work now. So when I used to shop at the bins, I was paying about $1 an item for clothing. And so if something didn't sell, I had no problem with running a local garage sale. I used to call it the dollar clothing clearance sale. And so I would sell all the clothing items for $1. So I didn't do a garage sale because I wasn't putting out all the random household things. It was only clothing. I marketed it as clothing. I did it once a quarter, and anything that I wanted to get rid of from my Poshmark closet that wasn't selling, I would sell for $1, out of my garage, like a garage sale, but I didn't promote it that way. I promoted it as a $1 clothing clearance sale. I don't know why I'm having trouble. So I called it that on purpose so that people would know, okay, it's clothing. Okay, it's $1. Like there's no haggling. It's not the 50-cent place. Like it's not, because if you run a garage sale, like there's all of that craziness. So everyone just knew, and they would come and they would just buy things for $1. There was no bulk deal. There was no less deal. It was just everything's $1. You can buy it or not. And every time I would make $200-300 because I was selling lots of stuff. And so I felt like that was worth it when I had that much stuff to get rid of. And because I was shopping at the bins at that time, I really wasn't losing money. I was really just losing time because I had listed it and spent the time there. And then I had tried to sell it in other ways. And then I had to do all the work to make the local closet clear out. But I think that it was good because it did help me build relationships with local people. So I actually did purchases from other people. I was able to get a bunch of stuff out of my house all at once, and I didn't lose any money. And so for those reasons, I think it was successful at the time. Now, I probably wouldn't do this step because I pay way too much for my items. I buy everything online now. I don't shop at the bins, and so I cannot be losing money left and right on items. So for me, my clearance strategies don't stop with this dollar sale anymore. They stop more with I send stuff to ThredUp, or if it's designer, I'll send it to The RealReal, or I'll send it to Swap. And that's kind of my last stop. But all of these methods that we've laid out here today, if you do them in this order, every time you go down a rung in the progression, you will have sold items and you will have gotten the most amount of money that you can for it with the least amount of work. And so if you follow them in that order, but do many of them, like maybe you're not going to do all of them, but if you do many of them, you are going to get rid of this stale inventory. You are going to be clearancing out and liquidating the items that you no longer want in your closet. But remember, if you challenge your thinking and change your mindset like I suggested at the beginning, you shouldn't be doing this after 3 weeks at the end of July, Pamela, with your sweater. No. You should be giving your items every opportunity to sell on the platform, lots of opportunities within the platform with sales and all kinds of things. You should be going multi-platform. That's not working. You should be going offline and doing lots of things. And so if you went through all of that with these items, the final thought I have for you is think about that item, all the work that you did to get it to sell, and maybe at the end, you only sold it for $1. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours and a lot of things. So if I were you, I would also take to heart that I shouldn't be buying that item again. And I've talked on my channel before about how I've leveled up my buying. I've become a disciplined sourcer. I'm not buying all those bad buys anymore. I'm not shoving all the junk in my Poshmark closet. And so if you get to the point where you have lots of stale listings, lots of items that you're trying to do all of these methods to clearance out, you really need to think about the stuff that you're buying as well and change your mindset on that, as well as how you handle your stale inventory, because this is not what you should be doing. You should be buying it with the intention that it's going to sell on the platform that you intended it to sell for the money you intended it to sell for, not for all of these different things. If you have one, please, by all means, do all of these things. But I just want you always to be successful. I want you to be thinking about all of these things in an intentional way so that you're not just spinning your wheels and doing all of this work for very little reward. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Vendoo for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to check out the link down below so that you could start a free trial. You can get 5 free listings a month to try Vendoo out. And then when you use that link, you get 30% off your first paid month, which is great. So go ahead and check the video that comes up next, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.